Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Running Real Estate Podcast. Today, I'm excited to bring you a guest that has been a crucial part of our team here with Atlantic Shore Sotheby's International Realty, somebody who has been a client, who transitioned to a friend, then to the employee, who is a year-round resident of Ocean City, and somebody that I always love to chat with about sports. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Frank Lubejko, who is our courier for Atlantic Shore's Sotheby's International Realty. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Excited to get you on here. A lot of the work that you have done for us over the years is kind of a little bit behind the scenes,
Yes.
But I'd like to get you out in front here. I want to introduce you to our listeners, and really want to share kind of your journey as to how you've become our courier with Atlantic Shore Sotheby's. So
Very good. Let's do it.
all right. So Frank, as I mentioned, you started as a client of mine. Maybe let us know a little bit where are you originally from?
Well, originally from Chicago. However, I lived in Harford County, Maryland when we purchased in 2015 from Ryan. And in early 2015, we started making property visits with Ryan, and we're very happy.
Yeah. So, I mean, backing up before that, I guess, because you've got an interesting, journey. What was your career?
Well, I am a retired pharmacist who worked for several years in Cecil County, Maryland.
Okay.
And then decided to look for properties in and around Ocean City. Before that, I did go to school in Northeastern University in Boston after having grown up in Chicago. But the last 30 years before moving to Ocean City, we lived outside of Bel Air, Maryland.
Got it. And, so Midwest, did you come to Maryland? Well, so you went to Boston from the Midwest.
Correct.
And then moving to your greater Baltimore area.
Yes.
And when did you meet your wife?
In college.
Okay.
Barbara was a nurse at Johns Hopkins, and I was on a rotation as part of my pharmacy studies, and that's how we met. And here I am all these years later.
Now, was she from Maryland originally?
Not originally. She's up from upstate New York, Buffalo area.
Okay.
But her family had moved to the Baltimore area, and that's how we met.
Got it. And since that's where she was comfortable, that's where you ended up staying. You stayed in the Baltimore area?
That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, so that transition, obviously, what we see in the greater Ocean City is we have so many people who are originally from the greater Baltimore area. That was their home. They bought properties at the beach as second homes first, and then maybe we've seen more kind of now relocating to the area. But a lot of times when they relocate to the area, they're not necessarily living year round in Ocean City. So that's been an interesting experience, I'm sure.
Sure. The reason that that came about is during the 1990s, we had vacationed every summer in Ocean City and Dewey Beach. And it was always in the back of my mind that maybe someday I'll live here. And things happen in life, and here I am.
Right. Yeah. So looking back to those times, I mean, that was, 2015? Is that what you said?
Yes.
2015. So, obviously the real estate market's continuing to evolve. We've gone through, 2015, 16, 17. I would probably say was kind of more of our normal real estate years, a normal real estate market.
Yes.
And then obviously in 2020, things kind of went crazy, and, we've had some interesting years since. But do you recall, going back to 2015, how did you start your search? How did you start thinking about where you wanted to be?
Well, it was an internet search for a realtor.
Yeah.
And we looked at a few, and we thought we'd try Ryan Haley.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started, with an internet search. And we did want to be close to the beach, with services available, such as grocery stores, doctors, shopping, things like that. So Ocean City was a natural fit for that.
Yeah, lots of options. The thing that's kind of unique is, we have the island that's cut up into, it's 10 miles of beach, obviously condos all throughout, but then there's a few residential communities, predominantly on the Bayside, where we see more of the year-round residents.
Yes.
Do you recall like kind of which areas you had been looking in and ultimately where you landed?
Well, we were looking north of 62nd Street, just a very broad area, and we did look at condos on the beach, single-family homes, more Bayside. So we went into the search with a pretty open spectrum of thought on it, and that we would pick the place that suited our needs. We did need several property visits, which Ryan was happy to take care of, and showed us a variety of homes that were available and condos.
Yeah. And so then at the end of the day, you ultimately ended up, what did you choose?
We did take a single-family home in Cane Woods, so near 142nd Street, Bayside, and we're very pleased with it to this day.
So, I mean, the unique perspective there, and maybe this is something that people who just vacation in Ocean City don't necessarily realize, but I mean, summertime, Ocean City, we have upwards of 300,000 people at any given time, second largest city in the state. But this time of year, it's a little different.
It's very quiet. I enjoy all the seasons. I enjoy the quiet of winter and the hustle and bustle of summer.
Yeah.
So it changes, and it's welcome.
Yeah. And then as we get closer to the spring, I mean, I'm sure you start to gauge, you start to see some more people, and the weekends get busier, and
certainly
traffic takes a little longer.
Yes, certainly. But it's enjoyable, and I like to have that variety. And you certainly get that in Ocean City. You go from very quiet to very, very busy.
Right. So that's unique. I mean, like I said, it's very few that have actually done that. A lot of people who move to the area, they're moving inland a little bit, but 7,000 year-round residents in Ocean City, and you're one of them. So,
and loving it.
That's good. That's good. So, like I mentioned, you started as the client. You got through that process. We found the right property. Obviously we stayed in touch, and you've become a great friend. And then we had some opportunity at the office, and we were excited that you were able to join us as our courier. So what was that like, that transition?
Well, that was interesting. I was looking for part-time work, and my wife has seen something on Facebook that alerted me that Ryan Haley may be looking for a courier. And so I inquired, and here I am today, almost 5 years later.
Right. It's been, and how many miles? I mean, I wonder. So, Frank, I mean, well, actually, I'll let you tell. Let's. What does it mean to be the courier? We say it's the courier, but you wear lots of hats for us.
I do. I do many things around the office, many tasks, cleaning, doing light maintenance. But I would say that my primary task is to visit properties that Ryan and the other agents have listed for Atlantic Shore Sotheby's. So I make a property visit once a week to these condos or single-family homes that are unoccupied. The occupied places I don't have to go to. It's more of a security check, simple things, make sure lights are off, windows are closed, etc. But I have come across some very interesting things that sellers would like to know about, water leaks and other things too that were a little more serious than just a quick visit to the property.
Yeah. So we're going to touch on that in a second. But okay. I mean, so just to envision this, as a seller, second home, right? A lot of these are second homes, yes. Unoccupied, right? And, they're 3 hours away in Baltimore. There could be 3 hours away in Philadelphia, DC. They could be in Florida, and they just don't get up here very often. And they are hoping to trust a real estate agent that they can, do a good job of marketing the property, but securing the property and keeping an eye on it. And, I have found over the years that a lot of agents have so much going on that's one of the things that they don't do very well. They don't necessarily check on the property to make sure it's secure between showings. And that benefit that you provide for our sellers is huge, to have that peace of mind knowing that somebody's going to go in there and see if there is anything that could be wrong.
Sure, I'm always cognizant of the seller in this task. I think it's really important, and I take it seriously, that they know there's some eyes on their property at least once a week, if not more.
Yeah. So you said you've run into some things along the way. I mean, can you think of anything that stands out as like, oh my gosh, I never thought I would see that type of situation?
Well, there was one where there was a water pump that had malfunctioned, and the garage was full of water. So I turned it off. The water stopped flowing. I cleaned up the mess in the garage, squeegeed all the water out of there, and that could have potentially been a very bad situation when the property was examined or by an inspector.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest one where we had a pretty bad water leak going on.
Right. Windows and doors open,
And that happens all the time. Doors are unlocked, unfortunately. So I'm there to take care of these things.
Yeah, which is like I said, it's been a huge asset for us. And also you mentioned like the light maintenance piece. I mean, the beauty of it, and it's not just Ocean City. You're all over Delmarva. I mean, you're putting some true mileage on the car and running around.
Yeah, I sure have. My typical day, I'm anywhere from Rehoboth to Salisbury to Snow Hill, and several properties in Ocean City. Ocean Pines covers quite a large area.
Right. And if you do run into an issue, then like you said, the light maintenance piece, you're running over to Ace, you're running to Home Depot, you're trying to help out,
Sure.
if you can.
Exactly. Whatever I can do to help the agents out and take that worry off their mind that I'm there and I will take care of problems.
Right. The other thing I've noticed with that too, and I started this podcast by saying that, you're typically behind the scenes, but that's not necessarily true. And I really think about it, thinking about some of my experiences with my seller clients, and there's been a number of times over the years where you are the face of the company and you are going to the home and you're meeting sellers. And it's an interesting dynamic, I find sometimes. I mean, they look to me, they look to the team, they look to the contract piece of it as one element, but then you're going out and maybe, I don't want to say like can soften things, but you're there if there's any kind of little concern. You're there sometimes to have that conversation with them and make them feel good, and help them, with some of those questions.
Sure, it always is. I think it's better when you have a face to put behind the company. And I've helped people move furniture, throw things away, just little things little touches that I think go a long way for Atlantic Shore Sotheby's.
I would agree 100%. I mean, I don't know what we would do without you, because as we're sitting here, I'm just thinking of these times that have come up, like the seller leaves a bunch of things in the property that they weren't necessarily supposed to do. And you have to go up there. You have gone up there and helped pull some of it out and made a dump run.
Sure. Sure.
You've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. They could count on me to do a few things.
Right. So with that, that's one piece. That's just like the almost property management peace of mind service that that we offer, that you're a huge part of. But honestly, when we think of like when I first envisioned this job and having it be a part of our company, the first thought is making sure, because my biggest pet peeve when we're marketing a property, my biggest pet peeve is signs that are either fallen over, they're not straight, or they're up past the time they should be, and empty flyer boxes. like empty flyer boxes. I've had so many conversations with sellers who are like, there's that house down it's for sale down the street, and that flyer box is empty all the time. And ever since, I've had these conversations, I thought, that's something we need to have in the company. We need somebody who can help us keep those flyer boxes full. So that's a big part of what you're doing as well.
Yes, it is the signage and the flyers that you never know if somebody's walking past a property you're trying to sell, and there's a flyer there that they can look at, and maybe they put it in their pocket, whatever. I think it's an important piece, and I've noticed the same thing walking around Ocean City, where there are empty flyer boxes or things just don't look right at a property, and I'm happy to take care of those things for Ryan and the other agents.
Yeah. Well, you do a great job at it. I mean, it's not uncommon. We'll all come into the office, and the conference room is just, filled with flyers for the multiple different listings we have, and you're mixing and matching and trying to figure out, what went under contract this week, what needs flyers, what doesn't.
Sure.
It's a puzzle.
Yes, it is. I try to keep up. I have a good team in the office that helps me get to this point where I can do my job effectively.
Right. Any tricks to the trade? I mean, do you when you get in the car and you decide where you're going to go for the day, do you map it out and do counterclockwise, clockwise, off island, on island? What's your trick to be able to get it all done?
Well, one of my best tricks is during the summer and heavy travel days. I know a lot of back roads to get around the area. Instead of what might be an hour and a half trip for somebody else might take me an hour 15 minutes. I know a lot of shortcuts since I've been to many areas of the surrounding counties. So I am pretty good at getting around. But I usually start in Ocean City and then maybe head up north into Delaware and the Rehoboth area, swing back to Salisbury. It all depends. It depends on traffic and where my route takes me that particular day.
Right. So with that, you also secure the properties and prepare the properties to be shown. So that's like, I think of keys, I think of lock boxes, that type of thing. Yeah. With that, I would imagine, to keep it all together, you probably have multiple hardware stores, multiple stops that you can go to if you need to get keys, you need to get some of these items.
Yes, and I've become friendly with the clerks in the hardware stores, and I know where the hardware stores are. Now that's another thing that helps me be a little more efficient in doing my job.
Yeah. You do a great job with it. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, obviously, a great asset and resource, for our clients, for myself and Christy and our team and our company. We can't thank you enough for that. But also, the services you provide to our agents. I mean, this isn't just, my listings. It's the whole team that you're providing these services for.
Yes, if any other agent has a listing and they need something done, they can call me and I will take care of it. I want to support the agents and allow them to sell your property. And if there's a task that requires an hour or two of work, well, that's an hour or two of work that they're not out there selling your property. So I'm happy to pick up the slack in that area.
Yeah. It's so important. When I think of all the conversations I've had with sellers over the years, and you never know where it's going to go with them. You sit down with them. Sometimes they're really just fixated on the price. Sometimes they're fixated on what the costs are going to be. Then there's others that want to know the marketing, right? That how are you going to market my property? And then the best one is kind of, it lumps it all together, is the presentation. And, you go to these conferences, you talk to other agents, you talk to buyers and sellers, and you talk through your services, your elevator pitch as to what you do to successfully sell properties. But I think that the key is that everything that we do throughout the process is important. and you need to do it to the best of your abilities. And an agent or a company might spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on marketing through the internet, like you mentioned, or print advertising. But it's you need everything, because you never know where that one buyer is going to come from. Yeah. I always say it's like it's the funnel, right? You want to go as wide as possible, but at the end of the day, we only need one buyer for this to make the sale happen. And that's where it's just so important that the signage, the making sure the keys are correct, the lock box is correct, the flyer boxes, that's just also important. And I think there's a lot of agents that just feel I'm going to go out there, I'm going to pound a sign in the yard and kind of hope and pray. And there's obviously much more to that.
Right. There's a whole lot more than just internet search. It takes a team to get it done properly.
Hit the nail on the head. And you're a huge part of our team, so I really appreciate that. I want to transition into some of your personality, some of your personal life a little bit, and talk about when you're not running all over Delmarva helping us, what are some of your passions, and I know fishing is a big part of that, correct?
Yes, it is.
So tell us a little bit about that.
I am a snakehead fisherman, so I don't catch them in Ocean City, although I do fish in Ocean City and in the bay and the ocean, but I do like to catch large, delicious snakeheads. They're a great fight. They're fun to catch. It's a beautiful day of sitting at a bridge or on the shore and catching fish and bringing them home to eat.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen the pictures. I've seen you're always sharing pictures of your catch. And you get some secret spots. We're not going to get into where those are, okay. But you're all over Delmarva, from what I understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What got you into that? How did you decide you wanted to specifically go after snakeheads?
I wasn't a fisherman as a young person or during my pharmacist career. It really happened when I moved to Ocean City, and it actually took a couple of years. So it was I moved to Ocean City in 2015. Maybe it was 2017, 2018 before I decided to take up fishing as a hobby, and I'm hooked.
Yeah. Well, that's great, and I know that's something that my son truly likes too, bridge fishing, and you've been able to share some stories with me that I could share to him, and vice versa.
Yes, we've compared catches.
Yeah, and equipment too, and that's something I have to say I have not ever really gotten into. I love to surf, but just the fishing piece, I couldn't really wrap my head around, and there's a lot that goes into it.
There is. There's a lot that goes into it, but I really love the solitude and the peace and quiet of fishing, and then, of course, eating it too.
Right. Right. So fishing's a passion. Tell us about your family a little bit. You do some traveling, right, to see your family from time to time.
Well, I have two grown daughters, one who lives in San Diego and the other who lives in Baltimore. My family, including my daughters, have been longtime Baltimore Ravens season ticket holders. Yeah. So we are looking forward to this game coming up on Saturday versus Houston. I've been a season ticket holder for 25 years, so that's the team is 27 years old. I've had them for 25, and I've maintained those tickets despite moving to Ocean City and making the 2.5 to 3 hour drive. We are passionate about it in our family, and we have a lot of fun and family togetherness with this pursuit.
Right. And it's a good year for the Ravens, so we'll see how things shake out.
Fingers crossed, but they're a good team.
Yeah. And that was one of my questions was because what's your favorite sports team? But yeah, I'm assuming it's the Ravens.
Certainly the Ravens. Next is a passion that I share with Ryan. Also, we are hockey fans.
Right.
We love the NHL. I think it's a great game. So much action. It's just nonstop back and forth, and with great athletes.
Right. Fastest game on ice.
Absolutely.
Right. See, we need to have a push. This is something that's been up in the air for years, but we need hockey here on the shore. We need better hockey. I still think that there would be the Greater Ocean City would be a good spot for at least some sort of rink and youth hockey program that could possibly even translate into like semi-pro, or I think there'd be a draw.
I would agree with that. It's a great game, and it just takes, if you're not a fan, it takes a little time to get used to it, watching it on TV. But getting out there and skating is exhilarating, and you appreciate, if you're a non-skater and you're learning to skate, you really appreciate the game of hockey, the ability of the players to skate, and also it would be great for a figure skating program too,
right,
in the area.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll ever see it or not. They've talked about it a few times, and I mean the closest option for us really here for youth hockey is like Harrington, Harrington, and then Easton has a youth program, and men's league. In both, I think men's league in both spots, and then we got the carousel.
Sure.
If you just want to go skate a little bit, you can go to the carousel. And actually, that's another thing. I haven't been to in a long time, but they have during the summer their figure skating shows daily at the carousel.
They do have them nightly at the carousel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the closest thing we've got.
Right.
That and TV. But I mean, so do you make it up to a couple Caps games every year or Flyers games?
One or two. When we lived in the Baltimore area, then we certainly went more often to Washington Capitals. We are Capitals fans.
Right. And the old Baltimore Skipjacks. So,
went to those back in the day also.
Right. So that actually, when you think about it, the Skipjacks were the minor league team for the Caps at one point.
Right. And
then that switched over to Hershey. Hershey, PA became the minor league affiliate. So and that's where I played as a kid. But so a love of hockey and football. So I really appreciate your perspective. I appreciate you coming on here today. I think it's extremely, unique I think you were ahead of your time a little bit. We've seen more people now relocating to the area, especially post-COVID, I think, than what we saw pre-COVID. And I look back to the beginning of my career in real estate, almost 22 years ago, and the majority of my conversations were not about year-round living. It was, buying a second home. So I really respect, and I think it's pretty cool that you did transition to the beach and not necessarily live in the outskirts. You live right on the island, and having that island lifestyle year-round is pretty cool.
Yes, it is. It's Ocean City is a great place. I would recommend it to any pending retirements. Take a look in this area. I think you'll like it.
Yeah. So I can go down this road a little bit. Since you have relocated here, what do you think about the town and how they've evolved with different events throughout the year? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? We've seen some shift between, dates for Springfest and Sunfest. They've added in some more events to town. What do you think?
I would say that over the years that I've been here, there have been a few more events added, and certainly the shift. It depends on what might be popular at the moment. There's certainly some staples such as Sunfest and the various car and motorcycle shows, Jeep Week. Those are staples, and there's been some shifting, and there's been some additions, new music venues and shows.
Yeah,
so I've noticed that in the last 8 years.
Yeah. Does that affect traffic, do you think? I mean, is it more weekend based?
Hard to say, Ryan, because COVID kind of threw a wrench in things. Town was very busy from 2015 up until COVID started. COVID lasted a while, and things are coming back. And there's been therefore a shift in some of the shows that are available, and things are picking up more and more, certainly. So yeah, I think we're on an upward trend since COVID, certainly.
Yeah. I would agree. I definitely, especially this past year, I feel like we've seen more added to the lineup with regard to events through the fall, which I think have been great. I'm a runner, and the Running Real Estate podcast, and the marathon weekend that was added, I think was great. The
Sure.
Oceans Calling event I attended and thought it was fantastic, which is great for the town. And then we just wrapped up our Winterfest season.
Right.
At Northside Park there, and that's I think that's seems to get more and more popular every year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this year they had the tram that you could ride and or walk from what I understand.
Right. They did that. Tried to make it more accessible and more family friendly and friendly for anybody who wanted to attend.
Yeah. Well, very good. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here today and chat with us. To our listeners, once again, Frank is such a great asset to our company, and you can have the peace of mind that when you list your property with Atlantic Shore Sotheby's International Realty, Frank and our team are going to take good care of you and be your eyes on the property and the security of your property when you're not here. So.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
We'll have to do this again.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
do.
Appreciate it, Frank. Thanks again for joining us here on the Running Real Estate Podcast. If you like this information, please subscribe, share this with your friends, and we'll be back next week with another edition of Running Real Estate.